Let's talk about the Trump administration, because they came off of this tax overhaul with a big win, no question about it. Came into this year, and then they had a little bit of some stumbles, or at least some distractions in the media. Everything from a book to some tweets, and now we've got the possibility of the government getting shut down. Are they losing their momentum? Can they keep their momentum going into the new year?
No, I don't think they're losing their momentum at all. Look, this is it's a difficult environment for any politician, because what we're doing is freeze framing tiny little vignettes in real time. It never happened before in a political environment. You would look at results, and you would look at a section of productivity and not confuse efforts with results. So I think what's important to calm the nerves, the emotional nerves of everybody around the world as to what's happening, is to understand that this administration does not do anything whimsical. What appears to be whimsical is actually well thought. So when you talk about the short-term vagaries of a book, I mean, it's, Michael Wolff wrote a great novel. It's going to be the best-selling book in the world. People can judge whether it's fiction or fact. It doesn't really...
The SNL skit on that was actually pretty funny. But go ahead.
But let me push you on that just a little bit, if I may, Tom, about whether things are well thought through. Even overnight, we had this report from the Washington Post and New York Times that the chief of staff went up to Capitol Hill and said, you know what, the president didn't really mean a wall. And basically, he didn't quite understand the way it works, and now I'm teaching him. And then the president came out this morning and said, no, I meant a wall. Is that thought through? Is that intentional? Is that part of the plan?
It's part of the president's plan. Yeah, and look, General Kelly, there's nobody better, right? And command and control, and this president has particular reverence to generals, and the ones that he has around him are great. Mattis, McMaster's, Kelly. But the president has a very distinctive method of controlled chaos, and within controlled chaos, he curates for points of view, which to the viewing population sometimes seems abrupt. It's not abrupt. It's how he's managed for 30 years. And I tell my friends, I said, when you think that this man has lost it, I wish you had the opportunity to go see him. He hasn't lost it. This has been the way that he was successful in business, that he was successful in finance, that he was successful in media, and he is our president, right? This isn't a campaign anymore. It's management by controlled orchestration of varied points of view, including General Kelly. Mm-hmm. General Kelly can have his own opinions about what might be or might not be, but the president invariably, just as he has in foreign policy, is going to say, ultimately, I will be the decider.
Well, my question to that, is President Trump racist? And I ask that not for a CNN headline. I ask it because it is in the middle of a government shutdown conversation when it comes to DACA, and then his tweets do matter. What he says does matter, rather than seeing him in person. So is he racist?
Let me give you the absolute answer as a friend who's known him for 4 years. No, absolutely.
Despite all the headlines?
Zero. Now,
despite the blank hole issue that we heard, all of that. Okay.
Zero. And I don't want to even get into the politics of it, but yeah. Let's just imagine at your morning meetings, when you're deciding what to do in the morning, somebody was to take little snapshots of what that discussion is. You have a president who's trying to get an immigration bill done. Right? If you saw that 55 minutes of documents, one of the best displays of what this president does best, having everybody in there almost like Shark Tank, right? Saying, let's get it done. So to take a segment, whether he said it or he didn't say it, to take a segment of a discussion in a negotiation and isolate that is just unfair. If you look at his record and his history and what he's trying to do, he's trying by extreme positions to draw back to a comprehensive immigration bill that we've never had. But that's his negotiating style. Look what happened. Do you remember we had an Islamic ban? Saudi Arabia was the enemy. 9/11, we still have this this piece of legislation that's directed to say you can sue the government of Saudi Arabia if you're a beneficiary. Mm-hmm. We go from an Islamic ban to, in April, the first American Arab Islamic conference, the President of the United States stepping off an airplane in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and within 5 months, all of a sudden, we're moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And who is our ally? Saudi Arabia, the UAE, hopefully soon Qatar. And you've had this massive move from what seemed like an absurd Islamic position. Zero racism. The same thing on Mexico. right? The issues on Mexico and NAFTA are largest trading partners, right? If you looked at just making the Americas great.
Let's put up that graph, actually. You have a graph that shows how our exports to Latin America, including Mexico significantly, how they dwarf, actually, China. I mean, it's extraordinary.
Absolutely. And I saw your segment on China, which is amazing. And President Xi is certainly the most powerful factor in the world that we need to worry about. But the answer is the Americas, right? If the president just extends now and says, let's make the Americas great, our largest trading partner, 3 times China. So this NAFTA discussion, which also seems abrupt and seems severe.
Well, exactly. How do you square what you just said, which makes perfect sense, with we're going to pull out of NAFTA? I mean, that's not a good way to extend our relations with Latin America, to say we're going to pull out of NAFTA because we're angry with Mexico.
Well, look, maybe it is, and it's startling diplomacy, right? So a way to look at it is you have some of the smartest individuals in the government, in the Foreign Service Office, right, in the State Department. And the State Department has a cadence of diplomacy that they've always used. And what happens now is you have a president who says, my cadence of diplomacy is going to be disintermediating. I'm going to step in and do it myself. But thank goodness you have Rex Tillerson and you have a State Department who has the normal diplomatic communication that works on. And with NAFTA, you have Bob Lighthizer, you have Wilbur Ross, you have an ambassadorial group who are focusing on the details. What is the president doing? He's doing what he always does. He's going to an extreme and saying, you want to negotiate? Here's what's going to happen if you don't. And I can tell you he's serious about saying, if we don't get it right, we'll pull out of NAFTA. That doesn't mean we're not going to trade with Mexico and Canada. It's like the Paris Treaty. People say, well, he must be. How could he not believe in global warming? I think no matter what he says, of course he believes in global warming and sustainability and the viability of those things. He didn't think the judiciousness of that particular agreement benefited America. So instead of saying what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I'm going to take Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a supporter of this, and I'm going to take Vice President Pence, and I'm going to form a committee, and I'm going to take 14 months and evaluate it. He startles the whole system. He's the only country that pulls out and says, I will do something better at a less cost to America that has more viability for sustainability, just like unwrapping the regulations. He's unwrapped 22 regulations for every regulation that he's imposed.